We are very near time. A very small meeting today. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Measure DD meeting for January 27th, 2025. Happy New Year to you all. My name is Adrian Cotter, and I am on the agenda committee here, along with Myra Redman and John Bowers. I don't think we have to have too much formal talk around our Zoom policy anymore. Is there any, sorry, I should actually bring up the agenda myself. Sorry, I usually have this up previously, but I don't have it today. Does anyone have a link to the agenda, actually?
I do.
Chat?
Michael Perlmutter sent it.
I have it up.
The link was incorrect.
Share it.
I just added to the chat.
Okay, thank you. The link was incorrect in the email that I just looked at. So
sorry about that.
Well, I let I responded and then Mike fixed it, so you got a second email that had it correct.
Okay. All right. So I think we can quickly run through introductions. I already gave mine, so I will start with Naomi.
Hi, I'm Naomi.
Hi, Naomi. Mandolin.
Hi, Mandolin, OPRF.
Myra and Bob.
Myra, Agenda Committee, Weed Warrior.
Bob Redman, Essex Community Action Committee.
Bill.
Bill Threlfall, Waterfront Action.
John.
John Bowers, Agenda Committee and Lake Merritt Institute.
James.
James Van, Coalition of Advocates for Lake Merritt.
Terry.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Terry Fashing, Division Manager for Watershed and Stormwater Management Division and current Bond Manager for Measure DD.
Jenny.
City of Oakland, that is.
Yeah.
Jenny Gerard, Lake Merritt Weed Warriors.
Hold on, they're introducing.
Lake Merritt Conservancy, Lake Merritt Advocates Coalition.
Email me a link. I'm corrected link, but it didn't go in. Excuse me, I hate to interrupt, but somebody wants to get on and he's on the link and there's nobody there. Is it a new link?
Must be the wrong link.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry about the link problem and the.
All right, Sam, I'll try to send you a new link, Sam. Okay, bye-bye.
It's in the. It is in the chat now.
Yeah, but I can't.
If you can't get on, you can't see the chat.
Here, let me
find someone.
I got it.
Will it help if I email it to you, Myra?
No, I have the for Mandolin.
Okay.
And I'll forward it to him.
Okay. Vince.
I can do it.
No, I'll do it.
You have one?
You're on mute, but
I thought the old space bar thing would work, but it didn't. I'm Vince Geronimo. I live next to the lake in Cleveland Heights. So sorry I missed the last couple meetings. I don't know what happened to the. Sometimes I miss the invitation or I'm out at a meeting, but glad to be here again.
Yeah. All good. Welcome back. Carlos. Okay, I'll skip Carlos for the minutes and come to Stephen. Oh.
Sorry. It's Carlos. Yes, I'm here for the I'm actually my first time doing your meeting. I live in Oakland. I'm also part of the East Bay Rowing Club, and just
Okay.
I'm going to be listening in for the Estuary Park Task Force update. Real curious to see, because we put a proposal in for our the Bay Door #2, which is in the Jack London Aquatic Center. So
Cool. Well, welcome.
thank you.
And Stephen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephen Acker from the City of Oakland Finance Department, and the bond manager for Measure KK and Measure U, and working closely with Terry in the Public Works Department to help with bond compliance with Measure DD.
Okay. Welcome again. Welcome, everybody. Are there any agenda changes or additions? People have had a chance to look.
I have one. Can I tell you about that, Adrian?
Sure.
In this agenda where it says under DD project update report, the very last bullet says DD Coalition website on city page. Can we move that up to be the third bullet under the first item, which is Measure DD Coalition meeting changes?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we had tried to talk about that at our meeting, but I think maybe I had failed to say it. Or
Yeah, it occurred to me when I was making edits, and then I forgot, and then I think that's the right place for it. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Are there any I don't know if people have had a chance to review the minutes for November 18th.
That's
the minutes are
that's the
forthcoming.
problem, and I have them open. I'm working on both the last one and the one before that. I apologize. I will get those to Mandolin tomorrow, and out to the group. And yeah, I'm very sorry, and I'll be quick about these January 27th meeting minutes.
And by the way, I hope you had a really excellent vacation. So.
Thank you.
All right. Well, do you want to? I think we are there for our 7:15 then. So do you want to take that away?
Sure.
Meeting
Are you talking to me? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Sorry.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much. So, Stephen Acker and I have been talking a little bit, and I have reviewed the governance document and the founding, agenda report and the description of the community coalition. I'm very aware of how this was set up originally based on how it was written up and based on my participation with this group all of these last few years. I am interested because Measure DD is kind of winding down a bit, and we're in a bit of a time right now when there's going to be a delay between now and when we're able to sell the next tranche of funding. I am interested in whether I would like to reduce the frequency of Measure DD meetings that city staff participate in. I would also like to make it more clear where when we're talking about Measure DD business, that's when city staff and the consultants are in the meeting doing the official Measure DD funded business, although I'm not charging my time to Measure DD anymore. And then have there be an opportunity for your group to continue meeting using the Zoom system, but that would no longer be supported by the city, right? And supported by Measure DD funding, because there are items that are discussed that are not related to Measure DD projects or Measure DD funding. And sometimes there are more political type discussions that happen, like the Estuary Park Task Group, where it to be an official portion of the meeting where city staff are there. I just, I'm also open to hearing when it's appropriate for city staff to be there versus when it's not. But it has seemed to me that the Estuary Park Task Force, and because of the controversy or the political nature maybe of what's happening with the Estuary Park project, it seems like I'm not sure when it makes sense for it to be an official city, report on Measure DD versus a community group meeting. And so I am just interested in making a distinction so that we can come in, Stephen and I, maybe it will probably always be a combination of Department of Finance staff and, project management staff will come in, provide updates to you, provide fiscal updates. And then if there are items that need to be discussed further by the Community Coalition, that would be handled by the Community Coalition. And then city staff would leave. And we talked about this a little bit last time. And you all told me that in the past, the DD bond manager would often leave after they gave their report. But it's a little bit unclear to me how much then the city's consultant that's kind of helping with managing our responsibility with regard to the Measure DD Community Coalition. It seems like our whole crew should leave the group and then you all would then handle the meeting minutes from there. And I'm not dictating anything here. I am saying, hey, I would like to have a conversation about this. Also, I was hoping that it would be possible. Well, it makes sense to me for staff participation in these meetings to happen at an earlier hour. Ideally for me, it would be from 5 to 6:30. But I'm open to it being 6 to 7 or 6 to 7:30. I know this has gone on for many years like this, but I would really appreciate it moving to an earlier hour. And also for the Measure DD Coalition website on the city's webpage, I'll just kind of run through everything that I wanted to cover and then we can have a discussion. The Measure DD website, what I have learned by talking to Stephen Acker is that the material we put on the city's website with regard that for Measure DD projects, it needs to kind of follow the same model as for Measure KK and Measure U. And so that is what we're going to do. So I'm going to follow Department of Finance's lead around what I can and can't post to the website with regard to the Measure DD Community Coalition, because we're just trying to stay consistent with how we run the Measure K, and the Measure U bonds. We want to be consistent in that way. And so that is what I had to say. Yeah, so James, and then Stephen has a comment as well. James Van, I think you're first.
Yeah, thanks, Terry. I think there's certain, after your reports and so forth, you certainly are free to leave the meeting. But I'm just I'm puzzled why you think the Estuary Task Committee, the Estuary Park Task Committee is different. I mean, the Measure DD Coalition was formed by, relating to the Measure DD bond program. And it seems to me that the coalition has an interest in the Estuary Park Master Plan, getting it approved. And so it set up a task force, which has the job of trying to line up support and so forth at city council to get the master plan approved. And
Mhm.
I'm not sure I see the difference between the Measure DD Coalition and it's advocating for something that's a part of its mission, as opposed to another commission of the city, which makes proposals and brings them to the city council and so forth. I don't see what the difference is.
Yeah.
If it's simply because there's an outside, force attempting to upset the plans of the coalition, and we're trying to counter that, I don't really see where that. I mean, there's certainly you don't need to be here for that, and I wouldn't request that. I didn't, you to be here, but I don't see the difference. I'm not sure that that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's mainly, yeah, I really hear you, and I feel a little confused by that myself, James. I think it's just the degree to which it has, has become so political, and community coalition members should, feel free to express themselves, but it is a lot of, it's very, it gets a little contentious, and I just, I have to stay neutral, and I'm doing my job is to definitely carefully spend the Measure DD funds and, have integrity in the way that I am being the bond manager, and that is what I'm doing. I have no control over the decisions that will be ultimately made by the decision makers with regard to parcel in. And so it just has been a little bit of it hasn't been clear to me, James, where my role is, well, like where OPRFs and my role in doing bond management and, making sure that all of the projects are moving along as quickly as they can. Like, there's that. And then, there's the advocacy that's happening on the part of the Measure DD Community Coalition. And I'm just a little unsure, ha- when it becomes something that is no longer about, managing the Measure DD bonds.
Yep.
It's just confusing. It's been a little confusing for me. Go ahead, Stephen.
Okay, thank you so much, Terry. I'm going to address that pretty quickly. We did speak to this matter in our last community coalition meeting. The primary reason why is because the last tranche of Measure DD funds came in 2017. Whatever funds, like literally for Terry to do this work, she has to charge her time to that money. And because that money hadn't been, I'm going to be 100% honest here, because it hadn't been out the door in 8 or now 9 years, we literally are out of compliance with federal tax stuff with bond money. So then part of my job was to go to ORIC, which is the premier bond council that did that measure. They were our disclosure council 9 years ago. And they said, if you want to spend the money, you need to go encumber it and contract it out and get it done immediately, because you obviously haven't shown a track record of getting it done on time. So now that put us in a bind where Terry, as a city employee, is ostensibly not even allowed to do project management, let alone correspondence to make sure the projects get pushed along. Those are things that now contractually, if we want to abide by the opinion of this attorney, we have to contract it out. And then we have in our Oakland code very specific rules saying what we can and can't contract out, because we have very, very strict union regulations about that. So that's one side of it. The second side of it is, to your question earlier, to the speaker earlier, James, the coalition's happenings and their doings, you can pass a resolution, but I've checked in the city code our charter, our municipal charter, and I do not see the mention of a community coalition into the charter. There is certainly a bond law in our city charter regarding Measure KK and Measure U oversight and expenditures. And I think many municipalities across the country had to do that because in the last 20 years, you know, a lot of municipalities were selling bonds and we didn't have much oversight about it. That's I think we discussed this last time, but I've done a lot of research on this, and I think that's where we still stand. And then finally, I think given what has transpired with our city in the news nationally, it should be noted here that, you know, we had we had an administration that was very, very aggressive with housing, and that kind of is not unnormal for most of our cities right now because we have an intense effort to get more housing, right? But that really made the existing efforts to get the DD projects done, it really thwarted it. And now to get back on track and to stick with the original plans that I think this coalition has advocated for, and what I think what everyone probably expects to see, the coalition and staff will help. Needs to go back to the council and say, like, hey, we already had plans to maybe get a park done, but the whole housing effort, it doesn't just affect Measure DD funds. It has really impacted our ability to do other things, and I can opine on that for different reasons. But for where we are at today, I think from finances perspective, we really want to help. Whenever we do a next bond sale, we do anticipate getting the last tranche of Measure DD money in there that will specifically get the rest of the authorization out. I think there's $9 or $10 million left, and we were happy to do that. It's just the city's in a very precarious situation financially, to go even put out notions that we're doing a bond sale has reverberations that I don't think our current administration or future one is really able to handle. I hope that kind of sums it up, and I hope I jumped in to help you up enough there, Terry. We're all really kind of tapped out when it comes to working, and most people in these positions have, they're pretty much at their wits' end. So that's another side of it too, when Terry says, like, hey, if we're pulling on meetings at 7 at night, it should go without being said here that means that we've been working 12-hour days, and we're doing our best at our level to really inform the community as well as inform our leadership, right? Like, ultimately a lot of these things need to happen at city administration level or at director level, and that's not where Terry or I are at. So we're doing our best, and we communicate both out and in, and we're doing what we can and trying to be as compliant as possible. It just, I think also Measure DD in 2002 probably had a lot more staff members doing this kind of work, and basically there's not many of us doing it, and it's hard to be subject matter experts at all of it. So I think I'll leave it at that. Sorry for going on so long on that.
I think Naomi was next. Yeah.
I thought Jenny was next, but but I can be very brief. I just want to say something practical and not address the issues too much. Certainly without this group of people and its forebears, there would be no Measure DD. But that isn't what I wanted to say. I happen to have a Zoom account. There is no reason why we can't simply have a committee of the whole and adjourn to another Zoom address and take it on ourselves as a committee of the whole. And I offer that. I am already hosting a rec center group, a monthly meeting with the planning department, which includes some talk about Estuary Park, and several other groups. And it's all the same price. I'm already paying the bill. Happy to use my Zoom account, happy to furnish it, happy to host. We don't usually have more than 100 people or whatever my limit is. Thank you.
Jenny.
My turn. I'm thrilled to see you here, Terry, because after the last meeting, I thought it was sayonara. So it's great to see you and Stephen here. And this is the first time I've heard about problems in the 7 to 9 hour, although those of you with young children, I can imagine don't relish this, and certainly Stephen, your comment about 12-hour days brings it home. I, for one, would be delighted to entertain earlier hours to accommodate city staff. And if that means starting at 5:30 or 6, I would like to hear if anybody has a big problem with that, because it seems to me if that makes even a particle of difference for a staff who, and the whole city staff structure is so stressed now. If this makes a particle of difference and is not a big deal, let's just do it. Does it?
Great. And on to that, maybe Bill will comment on this. I was wondering if we could maybe do it quarterly instead of every 2 months. And then I'll commit to doing a good job and getting you as much as I can in writing ahead of time, a week ahead of time. And then we could just have a very efficient meeting once a quarter is the other thing that I meant to say, but go for it, Bill.
I'm a little uncomfortable because you've mentioned a lot of ideas and concerns. Stephen has pointed out a lot of limitations and even questioned the underlying legitimacy of the coalition's appointment, looking at the original documents that we had pointed out, that the staff reports that describe the agreements about the function and relationship with the coalition. So we've talked about a lot of things, or Terry, you mentioned a lot of things in sequence, including what can be what is allowable on the website and so on. I think it would help us in order to be able to react to this if you would put something in writing to let us know exactly what it is that you're proposing, because you seem to be proposing time changes, reducing or altering the content of the website, reducing the frequency of the meetings, and so on. And so, we think back when the RFP for the administrative support was issued, some of us objected to the idea of porting the website from a local nonprofit, which happened to be Waterfront Action, to the city, because we wanted to maintain the independence of the coalition and not be needing to be constrained in the content of it. There didn't seem to be any concern about that. The RFP went out, and you folks insisted on taking the website into the city's, the coalition webpage into the city's website. Now, suddenly that's causing problems and creating apparently political conflict. I agree with James. It doesn't seem to me that advocating for the approval of the Estuary the Estuary Park Master Plan is a political matter and shouldn't be controversial, but I understand that you staff are in a difficult position because there's executive direction that's being provided here. So your hands are tied. It makes it difficult. If you're asking us to agree to something new, it would be nice to have in writing what that something new is.
Thank you. Yeah, that makes total sense. And I've written up a draft email about this. And right, we are trying to get from point A to point B on all of these projects. And this matter concerning Parcel N has slowed down the project movement. And we are keeping track of that. I am definitely advocating on behalf of the Measure DD funds, right? I've pointed out that this change is impacting the Measure DD funds. But beyond that, once things become more political, it is a little bit less straightforward for me to figure out where, my role as city staff, where this needs to be a more independent group. And I really appreciate what you said, Naomi, that you volunteered your Zoom account and so on and so forth. What I talked about with Mandolin is, at least while we're working with OPRF, is that we could get to the point in the meeting where we're done with city staff participation, and both OPRF and city staff could leave the meeting so that our meeting minutes would reflect what we covered in the meeting surrounding, our responsibility around Measure DD spending, right? And reporting, fiscal oversight of the coalition, so on and so forth. And then whatever else you all wanted to discuss, you would be responsible for taking the notes and posting your own minutes from that part of the meeting elsewhere. And but you could use the same Zoom system and OPRF could hand over control. But I think we need to move on in this meeting, and you have asked for it in writing. I totally agree. And so I will work on getting that out to the coalition.
So,
Yeah.
Terry, do you conceive of your contract with the OPRF as providing support for the coalition, administrative support for the coalition, or for the city staff?
It is administrative support for the coalition's work to provide oversight and in the spending of Measure DD funds, and the Measure DD Community Coalition's general support to help us move projects along, right? And
Can I say something to that as well?
yes.
So,
Yeah.
Bill, here's some context on this. We do have, okay, Mandalin's here. All right. So when I started my job, I've always staffed my committees on my own. I take my own minutes. I posted minutes on time. I make sure everything's compliant with the Brown Act. And this isn't just bond money. This is with anything I've ever done. As a staffer, that's what I've done at several government organizations. When I came here to the city of Oakland 19 months ago, did I realize that structure of outsourcing out to a nonprofit to just do the minutes and the agenda and do the reporting of financial project updates. I had no idea that was common precedent, but apparently it is, and it has been. But here from the finance department, this is what we're saying now. We're having discussions with management and all represented staff at the city of Oakland, where people are, we're looking at how people are going to lose their job or get into furloughs because we are in a very, very bad insolvent state. We have to say, okay, well, what staff can do what, or what staff can we contract out? And quite frankly, this type of work that Terry's been doing, even just communicating to the community, even going into our old enterprise reporting system and seeing the forensic accounting of where the money went, that type of work takes Terry away from doing project management work where she actually has the skills and the education and expertise to get some important, environmental projects done. So, we're now at a very, very strict fiscal state. All the money, especially this old bond money, is getting looked at from a very, very intense, auditing standpoint. And, we've gone back and forth to be like, okay, let's do the most that we can to make sure that the community at large is being updated. But, our ability to even do this. I mean, it's not even so much the cost, it's really just the time. Is like, okay, let's go back and figure out what the coalition wants to go spend the money on this time, and then we will go back to our directors and the administration and say, hey, this was already set in stone, this was already decided upon. I mean, we've done that now for as long as I've been working with Measure DD money for the last year. And I think, I wanted to get that on the record so that, Terry, when she says this, it's not really coming from a point of like, hey, we're trying to backtrack, or we're trying to not tell you anything. It's just literally, we are trying to do multiple things that in 2002, when this thing was passed, you probably had 10 city staffers doing it, or maybe 5. I don't know what it was, but it's me and Terry now, and occasionally the administrative office will give us an intern, but like having like a GIS technician, we have 2 of those for the entire city. We can't contract that out because that's, we'll get in trouble with unions with that too. So that's the reality of what's happening in 2025. in the city of Oakland. It's really unfortunate. It's hard for us to keep these projects moving along, but we're really trying. I wish that we could do a better job at like explaining the gravity of what it's like to work here right now with this stuff, but it's really, really difficult. I don't know. I hope that helped you out a little bit, Terry, with kind of what we're dealing with.
I think we all appreciate that the ceiling is falling in for all of you folks that are city staffers.
Yeah.
And I think we can be sympathetic to that. I'm just trying to understand. It sounds like Terry is saying, well, if you guys want to do anything other than what we approve as subjects for discussion, anything outside of a meeting time that we have defined, and then we'll leave, then you can take your own notes and be your own administrative support and all the rest of that. And that's what I'm trying to understand. Is that what's being proposed?
Right,
I think
that is,
that's-
well, can I just say
Go
real
ahead.
fast, Stephen, and I'm looking at the agenda report from, I think, 2003 about this. The main thing that we're doing here is representatives from the city would continue to attend your coalition meetings to discuss the status of ongoing projects and priorities for future projects and seek input from the coalition participants on topics, including those matters which are scheduled to go to city council or committees, which may affect the Measure DD budget or schedule. And so this is kind of speaking to what James was talking about, and he was saying, I don't really see the difference. I mean, we're just talking about a project that is being impacted, a project that is defined, it's a Measure DD project. I think it's just a matter of trying to figure out when things are starting to get super political and there's nothing that I can do about it, and there's that we just break and let you all continue being a group to continue discussing something that has become political. I guess it's going to be very hard to define, and maybe this won't happen that often, but I wanted to my goal is to keep things focused on our projects and providing fiscal updates, get input from you guys, and move on.
Well, I truly don't understand how you can get input from us if something that is a Measure DD project as central as Estuary Park is considered too political, and you'd have to step away from that discussion. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
If so, that's fine. You let us know, and I think we will understand a new role here in relationship to you folks.
Well, let me just provide an example. If you all are talking about, say, if you're planning to go out and do some sort of political action, that is not something. Okay,
I think
I don't want to get into this
I don't even
argument
think
with
it's
you.
more. Yeah, it's not so much political. Bill, I'll give you an example, okay? And I'm happy to go on record on this because this is again what's happening right now in the city. I got invited to a meeting with the planning and building department that meets regularly with the developer of something in Jack London, and they were just like, all right, well, what are we doing now with Measure DD money? And that was the first time I'd ever been invited to something like that. For all intents and purposes, I sat there and listened and I said, yeah, you're not getting any Measure DD money, but this is the reality in that our planning and building department, and by virtue of what they need to do, they have to talk with their developers and see what the developers need to go do. But what has transpired is because the administration just didn't really know what they were very much doing, I think that's what I would assume. They are getting advice or getting some type of someone's in their ear saying like, hey, this is how we're going to do more housing, and the housing thing has become such a political issue, right? We're not talking about red and blue or Republican liberal. We're just talking about people trying to build housing as opposed to the community as yourselves trying to prioritize, hey, let's fix the infrastructure that we already have. And when that happens, this puts me in a tough spot. It puts Terry in a tough spot. We're both at will. We could get a call tomorrow saying you're fired for even bringing that up. And that's what we're trying to fight against.
Stephen, both you and Terry would be well equipped with the reference and bullet points presented by the Estuary Park Task Group, pointing out that the developer's proposal for Estuary Park housing does not add any housing. It does not provide more housing. It is count neutral with regard to the allocation of housing within the Brooklyn Basin project. It adds no more housing. It moves housing from one development parcel to a public park site. That's what it's.
Right.
Yes.
I
Not
just
more housing.
We know.
So you don't need an argument to support that.
Right. And I am not going to say that we don't want to hear from the coalition about this. It's just that there's a limit. It does seem fair for the coalition to do some meeting and advocacy work outside of my needing to be involved, right? That's all. I just want to focus on what are our what's our budget, what's our schedule, where are we with these projects? Oh, the Estuary project has these issues. I'm not at liberty to go and advocate one way or another to the decision makers, except when it comes to protecting the Measure DD investments, and that is my role. And that is where it's very useful to get input from you all. And so
we
I'm not
never asked you to be an advocate for.
Exactly. I'm just saying that I'm just trying to make a distinction, and I apologize that I can understand that this is being. I hear how you are hearing this, and I think that I'm probably having a hard time explaining it, and I think it's maybe a mountain has been made out of something, you know what I mean? And I think I would like to see us move on in this meeting so we can get through it, but and I think we pretty much resolved it more simply in our last meeting, which is, there is a point where it makes sense for city staff to leave your meeting, right? And I'm trying to kind of come up with the mechanics to do that. And you know what I mean? So that is my intention. And so why don't we table further discussion about this? I really appreciate both what you, Bill, said and what you said, James. I am not proposing to cut off conversation and input from you all on projects. There's just a limit to where maybe I don't need to hear more, right? About how people's feelings about Estuary Park, because there's just nothing I can do about it, right? There's very little that I can do about it. So I thank you for your time on this matter. And if it's okay with you, maybe we can move to the next item. And what my action item is to write something up and try to clarify what I mean. And probably for this topic I've used the word political a lot, and I see people are wanting to dissect my definition of how are you defining political. What I'm just saying is when things get real contentious, that's probably not going to happen very often. So it's not like we need to create some big policy around it. I just want the ability to walk away from this meeting when it seems like the right time to do that. We've gotten through all of the updates, so on and so forth. And then it leaves you all time to have your internal conversations where you can talk about city staff, which is what I was experiencing. You all were talking with each other about the things that city staff are doing or not doing in a way that it just seemed like maybe I shouldn't be in that meeting, right? So that is what I have to say. And now we can maybe move on in this meeting if that's all right. Myra, you're muted.
Before we move on, can we just vote on changing the time to make it a little easier for you guys? I don't think that's an issue. We don't have to have that in writing, do we, Bill?
No.
So can't we we all have sympathy for them, and so can't we, if everybody, agrees, can we vote on that, at least take care of that?
Yeah.
Let's do it. So
Well, Terry has to make a proposal.
I propose that our next meeting,
Wait a minute, Terry, it's got to be convenient for Terry. I thought that you wanted it to be convenient for her. So what would she prefer?
Okay, I am interested to hear what you were gonna say, Jenny.
I thought I heard you say you'd like a meeting that ideally that it would start at 5:30 or 6. And if I heard you correctly, my proposal would be that we start the next meeting at 5:30 and with the aim of wrapping by 7:30.
I agree with that. That sounds good. Yeah. Thank you, Jenny. That sounds good to me. I propose that the meeting goes from 5:30 to 7:30. And we
Is there a
can,
second? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Sounds fine.
Adrian, do you want to call for a vote?
Anyone opposed? Hearing no opposal, we will move forward with the 5:30 meeting.
okay, and I will put this in writing, but if you all could think about the possibility of moving to quarterly meetings, I think that would be nice too, but I don't want to push my luck at this meeting.
I think, Terry, I don't think anyone's gonna have a problem with it. I think just when to start, I think would be the.
When to start, okay.
It has to become the
And
discussion.
what the cadence of it is. I think thinking through would be good.
Okay. Okay, so for now, let's say we're gonna meet in 2 months from now, and then I'm gonna put together my thoughts about this and write an email to you all, to the
Good.
coalition. Okay, thank you for your time on this matter. So, and in writing will be some information about the website as well. So, okay. So moving on to the project update report, and I'm just going to kind of go in order of what is on the agenda. And I have a little PowerPoint. I'm sorry, we're pretty far behind because look, I created taking more time at a meeting that's happening at night. Sorry, Sorry, this opened up in the middle of my PowerPoint when I opened it. Computer is slow, pardon me. Okay, here we go. Share.
Terry, I would suggest on the project updates that you just skip over anything that doesn't have a recent action or current action, because
That sounds good. I'll try to, yep. And I have made I've done some streamlining too. Can you all see this?
Yes.
Okay. Oof. All right, so here's today, January 27th. So I pulled out the action items from the last several meetings. So I just wanted to point out that since July, there are some errors on different slides and spreadsheets that I still need to work on. And so I just have this in a list on several slides, and I'll be sending this to Mandolin after this meeting's over for posting on the website. And we'll be getting to all of this work as soon as I can. So items that I wanted to pull out that are relevant right now. And a few of these things I'm going to go over further on in this report. So, oh, I wanted to point out that I did meet with Chris Reed with Project and Grants Management Division on the Series D conceptual spending plan. And the next step would be later to communicate with the Measure DD coalition to form a work group when we're ready to further discuss the Series D conceptual spending plan. And so what I mean here is that we're probably not going to be selling the next tranche until fiscal year 26, 27. So I can see that we have a lot of time. So I'm guessing that we're going to want to start having a little work group to discuss that towards the end of 2025 to be planning for bond sale that probably wouldn't happen until the fall of 2026 is what I've been hearing is likely to happen. So I just wanted to let you all know that I did take care of that action item to talk with project and grants management. So it's very clear to that group that the future Measure DD Series D projects would be implemented by that group. And I wanted to make sure that those projects were on their radar. And I have completed that task and will continue to stay in communication with Chris Reed about these projects, and will continue, you know, and it even will get onto the calendar a time, you know, at what meeting will we pick this back up again to talk with the Measure DD Coalition about the Series D projects. So moving on. Oh, I did communicate with Dee Rosario about the possible 400,000 funds held by, well, the way I understood it was that they had these funds that could be used for acquisitions. And so I investigated this, and this matter has been now handed off to projects and grants management. And so if anyone has questions about that, I can refer them to Chris Reed, but it's less straightforward than it seemed in the discussion. So I just wanted to say that I have completely handed this matter off to a different group, and it's been handled, or it's being addressed by that group. Then the other thing is on the Lake Merritt decomposed granite path project. I spoke with the project manager today. I also provided an update last November. That project, what we agreed to is that he is going to let me know when he starts the project, and I'm going to stop asking him for updates because he has the funding and now he just needs to get a contractor on board. He's going to have to go to council to do that. And when he is at the point of ready, you know, where he's ready to start work on the project, he will let me know so I can update the coalition. And if there are any concerns about the trail and its condition, I recommend reporting those through Oak 311 so that they can be tracked through that system.
Terry, may I just
Yeah.
ask a question here? Oh, it would be, there are members of this coalition who would be prepared to speak at a council meeting on the point when he
Okay.
the council. So I'd like to suggest that we not wait till they're beginning to pour whatever product is on the ground, but that we find out at the point at which he's ready to go to council.
Okay. So my action item is that I will let the project manager know, who's right now Craig Pond, but the project manager may change to someone whose name is Hank Pham. And I will email both of them and ask them to let us know when they're going to council. How's that sound?
Excellent.
Okay, great. All right. So we just did this proposal for future meetings. So I said I was going to get feedback on the website content from the city attorney and other guidelines. I got feedback from Department of Finance instead, and we decided in this meeting that I'm going to be providing more details on what can and can't go on the city's website that for the Measure DD Community Coalition. Let's see, I'll make sure to get these meeting minutes reviewed and uploaded. I just did an update on the Granite Path we're going to talk later about the sailboat house, and I have some information on that. And then I have reviewed the governance document. And I have one comment on it, which I don't know when is the right time to bring that. Oh, maybe. Yeah, that's not on today's agenda. So there's just one thing on the governance document that mentions the executive committee, and I don't think that committee exists anymore. So I think that governance document should be updated to reflect the current reality of the Measure DD city infrastructure, which I think was extremely different as defined in that agenda report from 2003. And so that is my comment on the governance document. I think it should be posted to the city's website on the Community Coalition webpage. But it seems like it should be updated to reflect how things have changed. Like there's no longer this executive committee that used to exist back then. So, so now moving on, this is just moving along in the agenda. The transition of the bond manager responsibilities. The bond manager is still me, the project manager too. That is the watershed and stormwater management division manager within Public Works. When that changes officially, we will let you know. But right now it's kind of in a bit of a holding pattern, and I don't know what the plan is for changing that. But I do know that I will still be involved, and Chris Reed as the division manager for project and grants management will stay involved because of our involvement with Measure DD projects. Okay, so this is the current status of the Measure C spending plan. And this is just in my spreadsheet where I made a correction to this table. This is a picture of a fiscal situation from June 30th, 2024. So things have changed, but this was our sketch for how we were planning to spend the Series C remaining funds. And this is still our general plan to put all of the money into Estuary Park projects. We're obviously working to get to that point of being able to do that. But I just wanted to say that in this document, I made the corrections that needed to be made. And this is simply a plan for how we plan to spend the remaining funds. And I can provide periodic updates on that plan as we make more progress. But the detailed fiscal report that that's already on the webpage, it reflects the fiscal situation since as of December 20th, 2024. So I just wanted to say that this was where we were with our spending plan a while ago, and I'm just sort of resharing this with you here with the correction. Then the Series D bond issuance planning. I talked about this a little bit, but there was something that I needed to correct. And so I corrected this spreadsheet. So again, when I send this to Madeline and she posts this up on the webpage, this particular table reflects what you all asked me to do previously, which is to remove the project that was not a council-approved DD project, and that was the children's playground at Rotary Nature Center. I was asked to move that down because it's not one of the council-approved DD projects or extension of, and we decided to keep these 4 projects as the main projects that would be delivered with the Series D funds once we sell those bonds. And so, and as I said, I already did meet with project and grants management about this, and I provided that group with this information. And as I said just earlier in this presentation, this will stay on my radar, and we'll get it on the calendar as to both when project and grants management will start programming out how they're going to deliver these projects, with input from the Measure DD Coalition. And what else was I going to say about that? And yeah, I think that was my main point. Oh, and then we will have to have it on the calendar for future Measure DD Coalition meetings to talk in more detail about these projects. We're going to talk more about this sailboat house rental facilities improvement assessment and implementation. So we'll get to that detail later. But I'm just letting you know that I took care of the changes based on your feedback to this table. The rest of what's in this spreadsheet, these slides are from September 16th, 2024. And this just shows how we're right now thinking we're going to spend the Series D funds, bonds, once we sell them, in each category. So that's what each of these tables go through. I'm not going to stop to talk about this. We've talked about this before, but this is just going to be in the presentation for your reference. So that was category 2. We're putting all of our eggs in one basket with the Estuary Park project. And then category 3, we have these projects that obviously the same things apply. We need to talk about these more when the time comes. But as I mentioned, we're not going to be selling these bonds for quite some time. And so we will, and right now is not a good time to get into the details about these projects because we're not ready to work on them yet. But as I mentioned, we'll get that on the calendar so that we're planning ahead well in advance of the bond sale. And then these are the other categories, 4 and 5. Again, this is just our conceptual plan for spending those bond funds once we're ready to. Okay, so then moving on to a little update. We don't have any updates on category 1. We don't have active projects. Moving on to the waterfront trails category. So this is a slide about the projects and the waterfront Bay Trail extension projects implemented by other groups. I'm not going to continue seeking updates on these projects because they're just not moving too much. And so I will quit providing updates in this meeting on these projects, and instead I'll track for the waterfront trail update to Public Works and Transportation Committee annual update. Also, just for your information, the Department of Transportation updates their online existing and proposed bikeway map twice per year, and we have agreed to stay in coordination with each other. And so that is what I wanted to say there to just streamline these meetings. I'm going to stop providing updates on the same thing that isn't moving. So here is for category 2. Our only active project now is the Estuary Park renovation project. This update is very similar to the one that I gave at the last meeting, but as you know, because many of you were there, and thank you for going to the Oakland City Council meeting on January 21st. Oakland City Council adopted the Estuary Park Master Plan, CEQA determination, and the major conditional use permit for the park improvements per the Estuary Park Master Plan. So that was great. And then this update just goes through the same information that has been provided previously, information that the Signature Development Group, the developer of Brooklyn Basin, submitted a planning application for parcel and property. I think everyone in this meeting, except for maybe Carlos, is aware of this. If approved, this will affect the Estuary Park project design currently envisioned in the now adopted EPMP and would require an amendment to the park master plan. The council adoption of the full Park Master Plan allows a path forward for phased implementation of the EPMP to deliver public serving improvements that do not impede the developer application from being considered by decision makers. That developer's application is undergoing planning consideration, and discussions are continued to be underway with the design consultant team and city stakeholders to define options for phase 1 construction that are outside of and would not preclude development of parcel N. Options for phase 1 and schedule for implementation depend on several factors, including the amount and timing of available funding, and remediation of the park site. So that is that. Any questions on Estuary Park? No?
Yes. Terry, I'm sorry I didn't raise my hand there. Thank you so much. It's a very, very precise presentation. So am I understanding this correctly, that the city council, although adopted the Estuary master plan, they are considering the parcel N aspect of it with a developing company, that the same the signature developing group that did the Brooklyn Basin, they're waiting for proposal from them to see what they propose for that parcel N? Am I understanding that correctly?
Right. Well, Oakland City Council adopted the current Estuary Park Master Plan that does include parcel N. Oakland City Council has not received a proposal yet from the developer, but the City Department of Planning and Building did receive an application for development of parcel N, which would require many steps. Like for that proposal to be approved, many things would have to happen, including an amendment to the Estuary Park Master Plan and the development agreement between Brooklyn Basin and the city of Oakland. And so the only way we could continue to make progress and do a phased approach, which we have to do anyway because of funding, to the building of the Estuary Park renovation project, the only way we could do that is we needed these planning documents to be adopted by city council. So we had to have them do that, but because of the proposal to develop parcel N by Brooklyn Basin developer, we had to say that, you know, our work to build the Estuary Park renovation project has to proceed in a phased way so that we do not preclude the development of parcel N should the decision makers approve that proposal. Does that make sense? I hope that I made sense in that very
Yes.
long sentence.
Yes, you did. Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure whose hand went up first.
I would just like to say, Carlos, that I was in a meeting today with the deputy planning director, and I have more details. I don't want to take the time right now, but I will put my email in the chat. And maybe you would like to just see the what was said by the deputy director.
Naomi, thank you so much. Yes, I would.
Thanks, Naomi. James? James Spann?
Carlos, City Council has not heard anything about parcel N. They don't know about this controversy at all. This is a staff decision to phase the project in a way that they can manipulate if it comes to the point where staff makes a recommendation to City Council to use parcel N for housing, which has not gone to City Council yet. The City Council would have to approve that. So City Council right now has approved it as to be developed as a park. That's all they know. And so this write-up that I'm looking at now, calling for phasing the development of Estuary Park, even though it's been approved by the city, was not part of what the city voted on. The city didn't know anything about this special phasing or so forth. to allow the maximum amount of time for the developer's proposal to be evaluated by staff and process, and if it's approved by staff and they decide to take it to city council to get city council approval, that's when all this would actually come to a head. But right now, the city council only knows about the master plan for Estuary Park, and they have approved the master plan. So the staff, I think it's going to take probably 2 years before staff can come back with their own recommendation and go to city council. But city council knows nothing about all the changes that would have to be made if the developer's proposal is being recommended by staff.
Got it. Thank you very much.
And I need to look at the agenda report to see what was said about this, James, because I think in the recent city council meeting that I think happened, I watched it from Spain. I'm now not sure what was said or what was not said, but in any case, I think it'd be good, Carlos, if you're interested, in our meeting minutes, we could put a link to that city council meeting and also to the Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting where this was discussed, this adoption of these documents. So just so that everybody has access to what was discussed in those meetings.
I
Yeah,
agree with that. And can I get a copy? Terry, will you see that I get a copy of what's on the screen now?
absolutely.
All right.
I will be sending this off to Mandolin after this meeting.
Okay.
And then she'll post it online and it'll be right with this agenda for this meeting.
Okay.
And
Thanks.
it'll go out to you. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, and we were definitely directed to, the project manager has been trying very hard to move this project forward. And in order to move it to this point, we had to, we cannot preclude the development of parcel N because that is not up to us. And because the proposal has come in, we, the decision makers need to make a decision. And also we don't have funding to build the whole project right now. There's a delay because the Series D tranche won't be sold for a few years. And so we have a certain amount of remaining funding. And as you know, I've looked at all of these ways where we can get as much funding as possible to do as much on the park project as possible. And so that is what we're looking at but we are focused on the area that is not parcel in right now. And it is because of this development proposal. So, okay, moving on to the next slide. So this is an update on the Peralta Park project, which is really the Lake Merritt Channel at 10th Street project. This project was in construction, or it was in the post-construction phase, but we have this new construction phase within post-construction because, the unauthorized uses in that park have destroyed the mitigation planting. And so we have to go in there to do replanting mitigation, the mitigation wetlands and other areas in the park to meet our environmental permit requirements. So we got all of our permits. We finally got our fence contract awarded. There were some challenges with that. So that fence shall be installed by May 2025. I found out from the new project manager, Rebecca Dar is no longer going to be managing this project. It's my understanding, and my staff, Jennifer Stern, who has been acting as a CIP project coordinator for project and grants management, she is going to take over managing this project. You all know her because she manages the Cortlandt Creek Restoration Project and she will be seeing to it that this mitigation planning contract is executed. Rebecca Dyer has done such a good job with this project. She successfully rebid the mitigation planning contract because we got no bids previously. But we finally did get a good bid, and we have a contractor ready, and we're working to execute the contract. That should be done by March 2025.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's like every step of project management is challenging, and we're always so excited when we're successful. And so our goal is to complete the planning by December 2025, and then we start our 3-year plan establishment warranty period. We just recently met with the regulatory agencies. Oh, plus, okay, then after we do that, then we'll enter into a security contract and reopen the park for daytime public access. We have to do monitoring and reporting for 10 years. We negotiated recently with the regulatory agencies. Those last 5 years will be pretty simple monitoring that will just be one annual visit to the site to make sure that the trees are still there. And so that's good. So most of the intensive monitoring and reporting will happen in years 1 through 5. And our extensive coordination with city divisions continues to move this project along. I'll be really psyched to see that fence go up. So,
One quick
okay.
question, Terry.
Yeah.
Is the security contract starting after construction or after the 3-year period? That's not clear in the slide.
Sorry, after construction, I think at the beginning of the 3-year plan establishment and warranty period.
So I just wanted to know.
Go for it, James.
Will this work open up both sides of the walkway?
Oops.
under
Sorry.
12 feet?
Uh-oh, something happened.
The fence is just on one side, James. It's on
It's just going to assure the opening of the pathways under the 12th Street Bridge on just one side, not both?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
On the
right.
auditorium side.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay, thank you for those questions. Okay, moving on. Update on the acquisitions project. Here's this big parcel. We are making progress on this. I didn't update this little note here, but we're going to be meeting with the bond attorney and the outside bond counsel this week to find out what options we have for donating, for purchasing this big parcel for around $800,000 with our remaining acquisitions funding. And then we would like to donate it, or donate the money and have a nonprofit purchase the parcel. And we're meeting with the bond attorney to find out whether we could do that. And the reason for wanting to do that is we don't want to take on the maintenance liability. We're investigating whether or not it could be donated to a land trust, and that there could be some sort of agreement that that land trust will maintain it. And then this might make the whole transaction be possible. And so the point is, we are meeting with the bond attorney this week to see what is possible and what is not possible. And so we're very excited about this. We would really like to acquire this this big parcel. It's an 11-acre parcel that is undeveloped, and then it would be put into being a conservation easement. And yeah, so I'm just letting you know, we're making a little progress on that. So we'll provide you an update next time we meet. We should know more by then. And then here's the Creeks project. We're almost done with the Cortland Creek restoration project. We'll have a ribbon cutting this spring, and we'll invite the Measure DD Community Coalition folks to participate. And we should be done with all of the planting by May 2025. And then we'll have 10 years of monitoring and reporting, with the last 5 years being really just easy photo monitoring. So the more intensive post-project work will happen for 5 years. Let's see. We are gonna start working on the Glen Echo Creek project, this spring, and we'll get designed to 30%, and then we can start going after some grant funding. We're looking into whether we could use the next tranche of Measure DD funds to do something for the Beaconsfield branch of Sassel Creek, because we have a maintenance issue out there. So we would like to see what we can do. And we're just continuing, hopefully wrapping up in the next few years, our monitoring and reporting for the Sassel Creek Restoration Project. And now to the fiscal report, which is up on the Measure DD website. So here is the website, here's the agenda, here's the project update table. So all of those updates I just gave you are in this big spreadsheet where I have provided total in bonds, Series C allocation, labor charges as of 12/20/24, non-labor charges, expenditures to date, encumbrances, and then, sorry, this is one of those terrible spreadsheets where you have to go down to get to the next. And then we have remaining funds, project status, and the project manager. So this table provides that information. I'm not going to go through this because I don't want to bore you with these fiscal details, but I wanted to let you know that this is up on the website. You can look through this and let me know if you have any questions. Does that sound good? Anyone want me to talk numbers right now? I don't have anything to say. This is just
Sounds good.
report on where we are. Okay.
Yeah, let's let people review and we can come to it next time.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. And then that was all I had to say. We can go on to John's item to reconsider position on sailboat house in wish list and in wish list of projects. And if you want, I can pull up the re-pull up that, gosh, if I can find where I was.
Maybe you can summarize.
So the answer
Yeah.
of your question, you had a question in there about whether or not we mentioned the classrooms in the original CIP requests, and the answer is no, we did not.
So it may be that, because I think John's question was what you just said, Adrian. And when I looked back at all of my documentation about this, it looks like it was maybe separately submitted through the public CIP portal. It was number 266, entered by someone in the public. But it was also on the wish list, right? And when it was on the wish list, there wasn't any detail.
Yeah, nobody seemed to know how if it was on the wish list, how it got there. I never remember hearing it mentioned, so I think it shouldn't be there.
So James, it was on the original wish list.
Yes.
I can bring up the original documents if needed, but we never had a lot of detail. That is true.
That's right. And I double checked that today. It was absolutely on the wish list. And then so what we did is we had the wish list and then we put it in a spreadsheet and we shared it with folks with a lot of historical institutional knowledge about Measure DD projects. And Bill Thrupoff, thank you, Bill, provided us with the information that said that that project that was on the wish list was based on an approved project from exhibits B and C in the capital expenditure plan in the DD staff report approved by council on July 15th, 2003. And the name of that project in that capital expenditure plan is called Renovate and Restore Lakeside Park Sailboat House. And so again, not a lot of detail on that project, but I just wanted to say, yes, it was there. And so if we look at, let's see, that one, you know, this cost estimate, I think, was done by someone on our CIP team a couple of years ago. And they costed it out at 13 million. And that must have just been based on professional judgment, you know. Looking at the name of this, they didn't have any information either when they did this cost estimate, right? They just saw it's a sailboat house rental facilities improvement assessment and implementation. And so that's all I know about that, John.
Yeah, I was going to have James Robinson, who's the executive director of the Lake Merritt Institute, come to this meeting, and unfortunately, that hasn't happened. But the information that I get from him is that there are very much present at the sailboat house projects that need to be fulfilled in order for the sailboat house to function in the way that it was originally intended to function. And all we need is to have a description of exactly what those projects are, which I don't have available to me right now. But I will continue to work with James and get him to agree to come to a future meeting.
Right. And is Stephen still here? Stephen Acker? Stephen, can you confirm that the soonest we would see this, the earliest time we would be selling Series D, the next tranche, would that be around October of 2026? Do you know?
It's the $1 million question or $100 million question everybody wants to ask. Best case scenario, our treasurer administrator, David Jones, said, you know, if we balanced our books and got some good news in the newspaper that, you know, we could potentially pull off a sale, you know, starting in it takes like 6 months to even do it. So we could start maybe in July and get the money by January, but it's highly unlikely. It's much more likely that the next bond sale happens in the middle of 2026. But again, everyone should know, if the council directs the finance department, then that's what then we will go and sell the bonds as, you know, as instructed by the council. But lots of different, you know, other things that affect that, and we want to make sure that we get the best cost of issuance and that we're not rushed into that situation. So I wish I could give more information. Sorry about that.
So just for very loose planning, if we're saying, okay, we would be starting the whole process in you know, middle, maybe the beginning of fiscal year 26, 27, just theoretically, you know, we should be maybe having a little work group or some focused discussions about really, okay, what are we really going to do with this money, and so on and so forth, and get a project and grants management division manager at a DD coalition meeting for planning purposes and figure out whether a work group is needed to dig down, like you're saying, John, about, does the DD coalition want to recommend that we consider doing some improvements sailboat house instead of any of these other projects, so on and so forth. We can get there later. Yeah. And but if we think about the soonest that we would want to really start rolling up our sleeves again, I'm thinking January 2026, you know, around then, just to be That's my recommendation right now. Does that seem to make sense? Just so that we know when we should start really worrying about it. Does that sound good, Adrian?
Yeah, that sounds fine. I think I would just throw out that I would rather the money go to PAS than it would to the sailboat house personally, but we
Okay.
can have that discussion later. So
Great. Okay. And in the meantime, John's going to get the information from James Robinson, so on and so forth. Yeah?
Yes.
All right. Right on. Okay. Whew, we got through that. I think that what is next on this agenda? Estuary Park
Okay.
Task Force update.
So Terry and Stephen, if you want to bail,
Okay.
I think
Great.
it's acceptable.
And just let me know if anything comes up in your discussion that you want, that I need to know as the DD bond manager, right? That is something different than what we've discussed in the past. Thank you so much for the earlier conversation. I really appreciate you all. Thank you, Mandolin, for being here. And yeah, thank you for your patience with me as I muddled through that earlier discussion.
Sorry, the one quick thing before you go, do we want to just run through assigned tasks?
Oh yeah, yeah. Do I?
Myra or Mandolin?
Yeah,
were
that
either of you
long list. Yeah, you have it in the minutes. It's
well from today.
From tonight.
Oh,
So there's the written proposal for changes in meeting time and to the websites.
Oh yeah.
You were going to inform or let Greg Pond and the potential other
Hank
program
Pym.
manager, Hank, sorry, about the Measure DD would be able to speak to council if they wanted the support. You had a suggestion for the governance doc. I don't know if you wanted to have a more conversation about that, or if you just wanted to make a change and send it through.
I'll do that. I'll make some proposed edits.
Okay,
And just ask some questions about what it says in there, and if someone had an idea about it that I'm not understanding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I stopped taking notes after that, but I don't.
Phew.
Thank you, Adrian. The only other thing I heard was we're going to include the links to the estuary council reports in our meeting minutes.
Council, yeah, absolutely. And the last thing I thought of is that I said, oh, let's start talking about Series D spending planning again in January 2026. And in the meantime, others are gonna do their research and thinking about what else they want to do with that money, like John.
And we will schedule our next meeting at 5:30.
Yes, thank you all so much for that too.
Is that in March?
Yeah.
We haven't changed it to quarterly yet, right? So our next meeting.
That's right.
Is March at 5:30. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you all so much. I hope you all have a good rest of your evening, and okay, talk to you later.
Right.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Bye.